So we're going to begin with a prayer as we always do. I'd love to begin with a prayer and anchor things in that prayer consciousness. And Lana is our pilot and our prayer today. Lana Cagle is one of our certified spiritual counselors in the ministry. And I think of her also as a teacher and a leader. And she's a wonderful being who's been doing this study of A Course in Miracles, the practical application, and spiraling up in a life of joy with us for many years now. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Lana.
Yes. Thank you, Jennifer. All right. We'll place our hand on our heart. Just take that deep breath of love and gratitude. Just grateful and thankful to be here in community, to partner up with higher Holy Spirit self, open and receptive to healing insights from the service. Bless each participant, as well as those who will listen later. Bless our musician, our speaker, as well as all those who work behind the scenes. We're grateful and thankful to know that we are God in action in all that we do. We're offering up lack and limitation thinking. We're offering up our attachments, our coping mechanisms, our defenses, anything that would hold the faults in place. We're severing attachments to old stories that hold thoughts of sin, guilt, and fear in place. We're dedicated to our awakening, to being a loving and beneficial presence on this planet. We share the benefits of our healing and our expansion with everyone because we are one with them. In grace and gratitude, we know it's done. We let it be, and so it is. Amen.
Amen, amen, amen. Thank you, Lana. I'm also going to just let you know, Lana, there's some feedback on your microphone there. And so sometimes you just have to leave and come back in order to fix it. I don't know what the deal is there. But I love that you mentioned letting go of the sin there in your prayer. I really appreciate that. So, yeah, I don't think about sin too much, especially because I wasn't raised in a religion, but I just really struck me when you said that. Yes, we're letting go of any thought of being a sinner. Oh, thank you. Thank you for that beautiful prayer. And so our musical artist is someone who has been with us before. And I think I pronounced the name wrong last time, and now I can't remember. Is it Kiowa? I'm not sure. There you are. Yeah, great. Maybe you can unmute yourself.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for being here. Can you just remind me how to pronounce your name?
You had it. It's Kiowa.
Okay. All right.
Great. So if you just say Iowa and put a K before it, you're all good.
Okay, good, good, good. So I'll introduce you here. Kiowa is an artist that gives back to children, the planet, people, and animals, and has shared the stage with such luminaries as Tim Reynolds from the Dave Matthews Band, Lenny Kravitz, the Marleys, Ani DeFranco, Daryl McDaniels of Run DMC, Fiona Apple, and Sheila E. He's a self-taught singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and produced his last 3 albums. His second and third albums, Soldier of Light and The Gift, can be found on SoundCloud under the name Terry Catlin. Maybe we can put that in the chat too. Kiowa.
You're so close. Kiowa.
Kiowa. Oh my gosh, it just went out of my head. He is excited about reforming his band and hitting the road. Now, once we get through this pandemic, are you out on the road again yet?
I am putting a new band together as we speak. And yes, we will definitely be back out on the road. We're looking at touring South America, Canada, and spending a lot of time here in South Florida as well, across the country.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, so you're in South Florida. How'd you do during the hurricane?
You know, we fared very well. I was luckily on the East Coast, but we putting a lot of prayers out to the West Coast, and they really got hit hard over there. So
Sure did. Yeah.
lots of prayers over in that direction. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited you're here, Kiowa. So I'm going to turn it over to you to give us a song.
How's that sound in there? Does it sound okay so far? Overlap a little. This little song called The Cross. Just kind of to remind us of all the different things that everybody goes through. We might see someone with something that we really like, and they're going through something different than the person that homeless might be going through. But we're all working through something, and I think as long as we just support each other through these times, we'll be okay. That day, stormy night, no love, no hope inside. Don't cry, he is coming. Don't die without knowing the cross. Ghetto to the left of us, flowers to the right. There'll be bread for all of us if we can just bear the cross. Sweet song of salvation, a pregnant mother sings. She lived in starvation. Her children need all that she brings. We all have our problems, some big, some are small. Soon all of our problems will be taken by the cross. The cross. Little song called The Cross.
Yes. Oh, that was like a big hug.
It's so warm and resonant, isn't it? Such a
Oh my gosh, it is. It is. That is, I want to hear that on the radio blasting out.
Me too.
Yeah, seriously.
Well,
Really
thank you
beautiful.
for lending me your ears today. So I'm glad
Yeah.
everybody.
Thank you, Kiowa. More to come. So grateful. All right. So I think I wrote about it in my blog today. Sometimes, even though I usually write my blog the day before, sometimes I can't remember what I wrote. But I think one of the things I was sharing recently, if not today, then recently, and that is that I'm just going to wipe that off. It felt a little blurry to me. One of the things that we see is very obvious right now. It's not obscured at all. It's very, very obvious. And that is that there is a fomenting of divisiveness. And we see it all over the place. And fomenting divisiveness can be very attractive, And it's easy to do. It's easy to do. And no matter what crowd you're in, you can say things that people, you can get an amen on it, right? You can say things and people will go, that is so true. You're so right, especially if you're being divisive. It's very easy to get people to agree and give you some applause, a pat on the back for being divisive. So let's see if I can give you an example of what I mean. And I will invite you to also put other examples in the chat, just so we can really, and I don't usually ask people to put things in the chat during Sundays with Spirit, but I feel right now in this very moment that this is important for us to recognize this going on and for us to just own the ways in which we do it. And I see myself tempted to do it at times. And so it could be you being divisive in your family, like, oh, we're having a little family issue, a little divisiveness in our family, but it's really because of them. They're not being loving. They're not being understanding. They're not being appreciative. They're not valuing what's being offered. So they are the problem. And that's a very standard way of fomenting divisiveness in your immediate circle. We can do it at work, right? And it's making people the other. They're in a different camp than we are. We could say they're on a different platform, a different position, a different perspective, a different point of view. And we are feeling sometimes, it's very common for even spiritual students who secretly think they're worthless and unlovable and unworthy and all of that, for those very same spiritual students, and this was me, to feel superior to other spiritual students and other people. Well, the lowest spiritual student can feel superior to someone who's not a spiritual student, right? Because, okay, I might be a total loser, my life might be utter crap, but I pray every day. I meditate every day. I tithe to my spiritual teacher. So I'm better than all the people who don't, right? That's just another way of fomenting divisiveness in our own mind. So I'm feeling called for us to really look at any subtle ways. Maybe it's not so subtle, but we're not paying attention to it, and it seems kind of subtle. Any ways that we might be fomenting this divisiveness and not quite recognizing it, not quite cognizing it, not quite really being aware of it, and having a dance of forgetfulness, a dance of allowing ourselves to be unconscious, let's say, of the ways we're doing it. And for me, this has been a very, very fruitful, valuable part of my moment by moment spiritual practice. So my whole life is spiritual practice. Whole life is spiritual practice. And that's what I have found to be the most helpful. Don't have an hour here and a half hour there. Make it your whole day, everything you're doing, your spiritual practice. That your life is just a life of spiritual practice. For me, it's the most fruitful way, because I used to want to take a break, right, from spiritual practice. I remember one of the most wonderful conversations I had with another spiritual teacher was with Regina Dawn Akers about maybe 8 years ago, 9 years ago, something like that. We were talking about how she said, now this is a woman who is extremely tuned in. She wrote the Holy Spirit's interpretation of the New Testament, right? She channeled that whole book. So this is someone who's very astute and alert, and she's lovely. She's absolutely lovely. I haven't seen her in a few years, but whenever we see each other, we are just thrilled to have some time together. We've been roommates on retreats, and we've traveled together. We've really had some wonderful times together. And so in this particular conversation we were having, and it might even have been on my podcast, so you could look there if you want to listen to it. She was saying that part of her practice her life had been for many years to, at the end of the day, the work day, the whatever you want to call it, so coming up on dinner time, she'd have a glass of wine and wind down into her evening. Now, a lot of spiritual people think spiritual people don't have wine, but if I'm not one of those people who thinks that. I just personally, I do better. I just prefer not to have any or have very little alcohol. It's just my personal preference. But I don't have this belief about alcohol is not spiritual or something like that. So anyway, so she'd have a glass of wine. And some people can't have one glass, they have to have two or three. So anyway, she'd have a glass of wine, and she was asking herself, and she liked to watch television and movies, as many of us do. And so she would do that kind of thing in her evening. She'd have a glass of wine with her partner, her daughter. They'd have dinner, watch some television, go to bed, that kind of thing. So she was asking herself, what is the wine and the television about? She said she noticed she was looking forward to tuning out, right? Tuning out. We can all understand that, right? We're looking forward to tuning out, right? So we were talking about this. What does this mean? Tuning out. Here we are, two women who have spent years and years and years cultivating the ability to tune in, right? And we're having a conversation about how we look forward to in our day to being able to tune out. What are we doing? And she was the one that brought it up. She had recently been contemplating it. And I think most spiritual students get to a place where at some point they contemplate exactly this. What am I tuning out from? So we're tuning out from problems, right? Tuning out from having to carry the weight of the world or the burdens that whatever in your life feel like burdens. Could be your health or your wealth, or it could be your relationships or the work load that you have, or issues with the family. Just, we've all got our stuff that we like to tune out from thinking about. And why do we want to tune out from thinking about it? Because we're carrying it as a burden. We're carrying it as something that we need to fix or change or do something like that. And we're trying to solve these problems, right? So we want to tune out from being the problem solver. We want to tune out from being the thinker. So we had a wonderful conversation, and it's something that I've come back to again and again, because in our day-to-day experience, if we're paying attention, I think a lot of us will notice that there's a steady stream of divisiveness in many different ways. And it can be things like, I don't want to eat that kind of peanut butter because that kind of peanut butter is not the good kind of peanut butter. And there is no other peanut butter. Do I eat that peanut butter? Or the divisiveness could be between, is it vegetarian or is it vegan? I can't really. I just went to a potluck and I had made soup for it. And I must have had 8 people ask me what was in the soup, right? So I'm like, it's a vegetable, it's a curry, there's maple syrup in it, and it's vegetarian. It's vegan. And then people are like, okay, it's vegetarian, it's vegan, but what's in it? Like, what spices are in it? There's curry in it. Not sure if I can eat that. It's just, there's this constant sense of trying to decide, is this right? Is this good? Is this bad? Is this a sin? Is this helpful? Is it not helpful? And constantly trying to think things through and decide them. And what I've really come to notice in my life in the last couple of years is that I don't want to think about these things. I don't want to think about them. I don't want to think and think and think and think. It's exhausting to be thinking all of the time, right? Trying to analyze things and figure things out, and what is good and what is not good, and what is better and less better. It's just a constant evaluating and deciding and thinking and analyzing, and I don't wish to do it. So more and more, what I see my approach in my life is not to think about things. But what I do most of the time is let's see if I can describe this. It's like I mentally touch things. It's like I mentally touch it, and then I get, let's call it a download. It can be the tiniest little download, but I get a little download. Do this, don't do that, little things like that. So I have found that to be incredibly helpful, incredibly helpful. Now, I think of what I've seen in my life is that the more I give up my opinions and judgments, the more opinionated, the less, the more intuitive I am. The more I give up the opinions, the more intuitive I am. That the information is right there. The insight is right there. And so I don't have to think about things a lot. In fact, I had an interesting experience the other day. I was out with someone who I was meeting for the first time. And I knew they were an accountant, and I said, oh, do you have your own firm, or do you work in an accounting firm? And he said, actually, I work for a manufacturing firm. And instantly it came into my mind, they make guns. And so I said, oh, that's interesting. And then he looked at me and he said, we make guns. I said, yeah, I just got that. I just it's interesting how the information can be just right there. Now, I think he was projecting it out because he was thinking she might not like the idea that I work for a company that makes guns. And of course he's right. I don't like that idea. Not that some guns aren't really necessary, depending on where you live. I live out in the country, and there's a lot of people around here, they kind of need a gun for certain things. If the bears are coming into your house and stuff like that, you might be glad you have a gun, you might be, I'm just saying. So I'm not anti-gun per se, but anyway, that's a whole nother topic. So the information that we need is right there for us if we're open to receiving it unfiltered and not drawing it through the filters of our opinions and our judgments. There's so much right there. We don't actually need to think about things a lot of the time. I have found that, especially as a spiritual student, for me, having an insight comes from not thinking, but allowing my mind simply to be available and open to the truth. And it seems like in the last week or so, many of the things that have been popping out to me, it's probably going to be one of my upcoming podcast episodes, is that we don't value the truth enough. We don't value the truth enough because we like thinking about things. We like deciding what's best. We like deciding what to think about things, how to look at things. And what I have come to see lately is that I don't like that. I find it tiring. And it's not how I'd like to use my time. I like being open to things, available to things, aware of things. I like to experience things. But thinking about things, analyzing things, I find exhausting. It's tiring. And when I go into that kind of thinking, I notice the energy shift. It's not like this, but I think a way to describe it would be when I go into thinking and analyzing, you could say it would be as if now there was a fluorescent light that was humming over my head. And for me, that the combination of the sound of the fluorescent light and the light itself is like, why am I being punished? You know I'm not being punished, but that's how those fluorescent lights that hum like that feel to me, like I've done something that I'm having to pay for now. Like, why is this happening to me? How do I get out of this room and away from this light? So that's how thinking can feel to me. And sometimes, totally understandable, members of the staff will ask me, what would you like to do about this? And I don't want to think about it, but I'll say, well, leave it with me and I'll open my mind to the answer, but it might take a few days for it to come through clearly. Sometimes it works that way. Sometimes it just pops in immediately, like, oh, he works for a gun manufacturer. But sometimes it's a little, there's a little dance, a little something, there's a little spirally kind of thing that happens for a couple of days, and then it clicks in, it locks in. And so when we're in this divisive kind of thinking, we definitely will move to that place of wanting to tune out, because that divisive kind of thinking is in a constant analysis on some level. There's a constant trying to discern, trying to evaluate, trying to analyze, trying to figure it out. And one of the best realizations I've ever had in my entire life was, and I felt like it came in a very direct statement from the I Am, Jennifer, if you're trying to figure something out, you're identified with the ego, you will not succeed, so just stop. Just stop. Instead of continuing to gather more information, instead of trying to gather more experts and evaluate and do more research, just stop. Just stop. What you need to know will be given to you if you're truly interested in what actually is the highest and best versus what you'd like to hear from the ego identification. So part of the whole scheme of divisiveness is it really starts because people feel insecure and they want to be right. So they can make up that they're right and others are wrong. And it doesn't have anything to do with truth. It has nothing to do with truth. One of my favorite statements in A Course in Miracles is, you're far too tolerant of mind wandering. He tells us that. Sometimes he just says it like it is. You're far too tolerant of mind wandering. It's very direct and it's still gentle. He's not saying you're wasting your life with mind wandering. He's not saying you are frittering away your gifts and talents with mind wandering. He's not saying you are making yourself sick with mind wandering. He's not saying you're ruining your relationships with mind wandering. He's not saying you have no chance of happiness with mind wandering, but that is inherent in what he's saying. All those things are true. The mind wandering produces those results, but the truth sets us free. The truth is healing. It's liberating, because the truth is in alignment with our true nature, our true identity. It brings us back to the beginning. It brings us back to our original instructions to be the love of God, because that is what we are. So we don't have to pretend we're the love of God, just be it, right? We don't have to pretend that we're loving and kind, just be it, because it feels so much better than being divisive and being unkind and trying to label good and bad all the time. So I'm inviting you to contemplate here. And let's do this. Let's place our hands on our hearts and let's just go inward and really feel, where is it in our life that we're the divisive ones? Where is that happening? Because this has been a habit that I have had to really put my attention on in order to break it. Where is there a habit of labeling good and bad, right and wrong? And we can just call it what it is. It is divisiveness. So being divisive is like being a separationist. We are inviting more separation thinking with divisiveness. Is it political? Is it, I know I talk with so many people who are absolutely convinced that those who don't get vaccines lack in compassion. They don't care about anyone but themselves. And they'll go on and on and on to me. And after a little while, I'll say, you know, I'm not vaccinated. It's funny. Sorry. I remember to laugh about it. And then, of course, I've heard the many, many, many painful stories of people who are not vaccinated and who are very anti-vax, and all this divisiveness that people are struggling with. God does not separate the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. And God does not separate the loving and the unloving, the kind and the unkind. That is not the nature of God. The nature of God is perfect unity. If God were an old man in the sky, in truth, he would love everyone perfectly all the time, and it would not matter what they chose in terms of whether or not they were lovable or loved. But that's not what God is. God is not an old man in the sky. Maybe that was just made up to bring more divisiveness at the time of those who worshiped the goddess, right? Maybe that all came from divisiveness. So just owning, oh, look at me being divisive there at work, or there with my siblings, or there with my parents, or with my in-laws, or with the people at my children's school, or with the parents of my child's best friend, or all the ways that we can be divisive with the vegans and the carnivores and all these different things, eating organic, non-organic. Sometimes people have come to me for counseling because they realized they went into an absolute rage because someone they cared about was eating a non-organic apple, and it sent them over the edge. The constant labeling good and bad, right and wrong. Where does the Course in Miracles begin? I've given everything all the meaning that it has for me. That's where it begins. That's the very beginning of the workbook lessons. I've given everything all the meaning that it has for me. So why label it good or bad, right or wrong, unless we'd like to sort and separate and label in order to try to feel either more superior or more inferior, depending on what we're after. Some people are going for, I am the worst ever. I'm inferior to everyone. And some people are just looking for some bit of superiority or a lot of superiority. So what's going on with us? Let's just own it as spiritual students so we can remember to laugh as quickly as possible. Because it's that kind of noise in our awareness that sends us into, I need to tune out from this. It's too much for me. I'm overwhelmed. I'm a sensitive being. I'm a sensitive. I'm an empath. I'm a spiritual being, and all of this is too much for me. I have to tune out. So what if we can tune up above the battlefield instead? But we can't do it until we give up our attachment to labeling right and wrong, good and bad, sinner and saint. So owning the places where we have indulged in this divisive thinking, this separation thinking, and in this moment, choosing, even if we don't know how yet, we have a willingness to remember to laugh. Think of all the religious wars, the people who killed in the name of Jesus, killed in the name of Muhammad. And still, look at all this week in the news about the anti-Semitism. These people making anti-Semitic remarks, and then people having to label and attack them. Where's the compassion? Where's the possibility of healing if everyone is attacking? It's time to rise up. So we start with ourselves. If we'd like the divisiveness to end in politics, to end in religion, to end in the world, we have to start with ourselves and be committed to it. And what I'm saying is, it's so much easier to live without it. But it can feel like quitting smoking or quitting crack cocaine or something, because there's a little high that the personality gets. Oh, I'm right about that. Oh, they're so bad and wrong. Oh, I'm so right. There's a little high. And then what we don't notice is it's like a sugar high. You go crashing down, but you don't, a lot of times people don't know that crash, that was because you chose to get high off your attack thoughts earlier. feed the wolf of the personality, the lowest part of the personality. We're just owning our stuff here, being willing to live a life where there's no desire to tune out anymore because we're tuned up above the battlefield. So thinking about things is no longer exhausting because we're living in that place of complete alignment with that higher self, the knower who knows. So resting in this right here, I'm going to invite another song from Kiowa to hold us in this place as we're contemplating our own divisive thoughts.
This little song about cleansing, going into the womb and rebirthing yourself in a more grounded, aware fashion. It's called Sacred Water. I have walked across this skin, made a lot of friends here, never let them in, till I had to look at the man in the mirror, till I had to look at the man looking at me. The butterfly, she calls my name. Into the soil we dig again. Yeah. Into the dark we go to find the light within. Oh, sacred water. Oh, sacred water. Burn the sage again. Burn the sage again. Now I run across these hills. When I come to those mountains, quietly sit still. Then I get to look at the man in the mirror. Then I get to look at the man looking at me. The butterfly, she calls my name. Into the soil we dig again. Yeah. Into the dark we go to find the light within. Oh, sacred water. Oh, sacred water. Oh, sage again. So burn the sage again. Burn the sage again. That's
So uplifting. My goodness.
thank you. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that sacred music of sacred waters. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, it's really nourishing to the
Diving,
sacred waters of my soul. Hmm?
I said diving within and coming back at immersing a different soul.
That's
Gra-
right. Hmm. I
Thank you.
love that. Yes, yes. Really, really nourishing. Thank you so much, Kiowa.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, we're going to come back in a little bit and have another song with Kiowa before we finish out. Right now, we're going to go into a breakout, and I'm inviting you to discuss in your breakout small groups. It's not a lot of time, so there's an invitation and opportunity for you to share in your small group. And it's a way to, we could say, get it off your chest. It's a way to unburden yourself and just say, you know what, I can see I've been divisive in this way. Just like in the chat, Tyler gave us a beautiful example of doing just that, being divisive and trying to get people on their side. And that's what we do, right? We want people to get on our side, and then they're on the other side, and we're on this side, which is the good side, where the people are good. And on that side, the people are less good. But at least we know we're on the good side. So yeah, all of that, we got to give that up, because there's no way to rise up and hold on to these patterns. So we're at the forefront. It's our work to do. We're the ones that said, yeah, I'd like to go do some of that. Do some of that. Let's go do some of that together. So remembering to laugh together, that's what my invitation is to you in your breakout rooms, just to make sure everybody gets the chance to share if they'd like to share, and to listen with that sacred water mentality, and make it a love offering. So we're purging ourselves and cleansing and clearing. Lan is our pilot. She's going to open the rooms here. And here we go. All right. So nice to see you, Rosalind.
Oh, thank you. It's lovely to be here. I just loved your talk today, your share. Kaya was not here to hear this, so maybe I'll save it, or repeat it when he comes back.
There
Oh, there he is. Hi, Kiowa. Yeah, I wanted to thank Lana for her prayer, and I too noticed the mention of sin. And when Kiowa talked about the light within, sin and the light within, and your talk all fit together, because I feel that shame or imagined unworthiness is what's underneath all that you talked about today, being right, getting it right, being on the right side of the food or the wrong side, the other person. If we knew that we were worthy, if we knew that we had the okayness of life, of spirit, of love, we wouldn't have this desire for the divisiveness, I think. At least that's what resonates with me lately. And knowing the light within is another way to say that. And knowing that we're innocent is another way to say that. These are all knowing that we're the love, which is another way that you like to say it, and the Course likes to say it. These are all ways to know that unworthiness is imagined. So I think it's just a perfectly coordinated service today. I love all of it. I found myself in one of those conversations of divisiveness that was shocking to me, even while I was in it. I didn't feel I had an intention for that, but obviously there was something that could be pulled out. What happened was I was checking in with a friend about a visit I was to make to New York. And I think I was in trouble I think she was mad at me, but not going to say. I think I didn't do something. Maybe I hadn't spent enough time paying attention to her or checking in about when I was coming or so on. She was annoyed. And that became clear. But it was a different kind of divisiveness. It was, I'm going to do things for you that I clearly don't want to do. I can't be there when you're going to be there, but I'm going to make lunch for you. And I say, well, no, I just won't even come then. We'll just come later. We don't need to come for a lunch that you're not going to be there for, that you should prepare before you go. No, maybe I won't go to the class. Maybe I will be there. And I'm like, no, don't be there. Do what you want to do. Don't do that. And it reminds me of a time when I used to buy orange juice for this person when they visited. They didn't like orange juice, but they would drink the orange juice because I thought they liked it, and they would so the next time I would buy it, and then they would buy it for us. We don't like orange juice. And it reminded me that's what our fight was about, is like, I'm going to do this for you. I don't want you to do it for me. But it was just as divisive as what you're saying. And I wasn't trying to be right, but I was acting that way. I mean, no, it was kind of like, how did we get into this? This feels awful. It just,
Yeah. Martyrdom as a form of divisiveness.
Yeah. And it felt ugly, and I didn't want it.
Yeah.
But then my husband said, well, why didn't you just take what she was offering? I said, because she didn't want to give it to me and I didn't want it.
Right.
And why are we doing it?
Right.
It was like, if I felt she wanted it, I would have accepted it. It wasn't that I didn't want her lunch, anyway. But it did feel like something got hooked that was my part too. I was definitely in it. And then she, it really got reduced to, well, you're so picky, and well, you're the one, and don't, like, what is this? I mean, and I just decided, that I had a choice. I could have called her later and said, like, what was that all about? That was not worthy of our relationship, but I just decided to go to the invisible. Just take care of it in the invisible, to bless our relationship, to take myself off the hook, take her off the hook. I will be on the lookout. I can imagine some of the things that I might have done that might have made her prickly. So I will, instead of doing anything about it or saying anything about it, I will just be more attentive. I have been preoccupied and busy. Everybody has probably experienced that from me. And so, yes, people have feelings, and that's probably what was happening. Anyway, I don't know, that's just a guess. But back to one of the things that you were saying that I loved so much was what you were saying about not liking to think about things. I don't even like to think about my preferences anymore. Like, I don't even want those. It's like, I'm not denying that I have them. I like chocolate better than strawberry, a whole lot more, but I'm not even willing to do anything to get it rather than strawberry. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't, that feels like a deterrent. And sometimes I just love how spirit works. I live like you do, in the sense of like, just give me the answer. And that's what I'll do. I don't even want to think about it. And the answer is there. If you clear out even the preferences, the answers are there. And what I love is I don't even see it so much as truth anymore, because like you've said in some of your spiritual espressos, spirit loves to bait and switch. So it's not about the truth a lot of the time. It's, will you come this way? Will you come that way? Now it's this, now it's that. Eat the chocolate now. Don't eat the chocolate now. I just listen. Like, it's not about a rule about chocolate. It's not a rule about anything. It's just, if we're open, we'll be told yes. And some situations it'll be yes, and some it'll be no, and just do it. Like, are you willing to do it? Or do you want to know? Do you want the answer? And that's like, that takes us down, the answer, like looking for the answer. I don't know if I'm saying that well, because we will be given the answer, but looking for a thought answer or a feeling answer, that will take us off. Thoughts and feelings are as changeable as anything, as weather, faster than weather. So that is not what we want to base our next move on, I don't think, because there is something more permanent, more steady, more consistent, more loving, more wise. And that's available always to us if we stop with that other litany of information. So I just loved your talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosalind. I'm so familiar with that pattern that you talked about with your friend. I can remember having that kind of experience on a regular basis. Yeah.
It was
And-
so unusual that I was taken like way down, because I'm not used to that anymore. I used to have more of those all the time, but not anymore. But obviously I can still go there.
Yeah, it's that thing of, I'm going to do something for you so that you will feel guilty that I did more for you than you did for me. So that's what I heard.
You're not so great. I want to show you you're not so great. I'm kind of mad at you. So I just want you to feel as icky as I do right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this nice thing to show you how nice.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to show you how nice I am. By contrast, you will see how nice you are not.
Yeah.
Because that's how nice I am. I'm going to make you feel bad about yourself by being nice to you. Oof.
Oh my.
The ego's always opposite day, right? Kiowa, can you relate to this?
Can. I can. And I avert, I have a practice of accepting people where they're at. And just don't have the energy to, to battle, or it's like, okay, I see you, and okay. And that's okay for me, just to gently bow out of whatever that is. I think, it's important for us not to make people wrong. We have to love them where they are. And if they're combative or in a state like that, sometimes I keep those people kind of out here a little bit, and keep the less combative ones a little closer. Yeah. It's kind of yeah. So.
Yep.
Your voice goes so well with the guitar and the way you play the guitar. They blend so beautifully, and it's like it's just an addition to spirit, the way they go together.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Do I get to play another song?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
excited.
When we come back from the breakout.
Oh, so
Yes.
right now?
We're in a breakout.
Yeah, everybody's in a breakout. We're actually on Facebook Live.
Okay.
With this discussion, we're live.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we're live. Yeah.
Right on.
And we're
So
pretty
anything
much,
you want to share about your music, Kiowa? It's a good time to talk.
Well, my music is a reflection of my life and things that I find important that are going on in the world, such as the planet, our divine planet that we live on, and just bringing things to the attention that perhaps we don't think about every day. So when we hear it in a song, and the song is upbeat and it gets us shaking and beating our feet, we'll hear, oh, wait a minute. I was talking about global warming and taking care of the trees and the plants and the animals and letting things be free and loving them and nurturing them. Trying to turn the planet back into a green, ripe, pregnant, birthing, entity. So yeah, I try to bring a little consciousness in with the music, and then there's always the kind of funner, different type of sexy stuff. But I've really enjoyed the exploration of instruments throughout my life. So when I was little, I had a weight bench in the basement, and right next to the weight bench was the drum set. So it was kind of like the aggravation area and getting it all out, And then I go upstairs, and my adopted mom, she had an upright piano. So I started to teach myself how to play the piano. Excuse me. And then I start to learn top 40, stuff like that. It's just always been like a real place of expression for me. Sometimes I feel even like the last song, like being in a womb and rebirthing. Sometimes for me, it feels more comfortable to be in the womb or be with an instrument and speak with it through the instrument. Catch me like this, and sometimes I feel a little fluttered.
No, you're very fluent and beautiful speaker.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. I've been looking into, I just went to Broward College a couple weeks ago and gave my first speech mixed with music to support our youth through abuse, through homelessness, through diversity. And that was really fun. I think I might have found a new path for me to go down. I really, really enjoyed that. And the interaction with the youth and being able to use words of empowerment through music and spoken word. I think that's my new jam. So might be doing that as a solo thing across the country.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. I'm so glad to hear it. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a wonderful thing to offer inspiration to folks. So you were at a college.
Yeah, Broward College here in Pompano. Yeah.
That's great.
It was a lot of fun. And it was a beautiful day. Trees dancing and the grass was swaying. And they just seemed very present and excited to be there. And grateful that we could relate together, because I have been homeless. I have had substance abuse. I have been sober. I have, experienced all these things. I feel that, when you experience what you're talking about, you become a better. And so in a sense, I'm passing on my knowledge and my experiences, things that helped me and things that didn't help me, onto them so they can make their own decisions. That was really fun. It was a really mixed crowd too, all different colors and shapes, sizes, and even some of their parents came, which was kind of nice. You get the whole array of age in that spectrum there. So yeah, might be a new call.
When people are struggling, having a hard time, especially with obsessive compulsive addictive tendencies, I think being able to hear from somebody who was stuck in that quagmire, who got out of it, is so encouraging, especially if they're right in front of you, because I'm sure people can, when you speak, they can hear that you're speaking from your experience and that you found the way to get yourself out of those situations, and it becomes a roadmap that they can then follow.
Right, right. And it's it's fun because there's no notes taken, there's no papers and pens. It's all just a thought process. And it's interesting to feel the energy when you first get there as opposed to when you're beginning to finish. It seems like it's a lighter energy. Some wheels have been turning, and we've made a connection without speaking to each other until after, of course. But yeah, exactly. It's a great definition to give a roadmap uh, to a brighter expression of life that we all can be. I think that's what we all strive to do on a daily basis, is just be the best expression of life that we can be.
Mhm.
Kids are really into it. They're into all the things that are going on today, both politically and earthwise. And we had a good generation of kids coming up here. They're going to make some big changes for us that we need. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yep,
Conscious. Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah.
I'm
Yes, I
thankful that you guys are having me back. I love doing this every time.
good,
I
good,
know something from it too. And I
good.
think you do. I think everybody that tunes in does.
That's
So
right. I do. Yeah,
yeah, thank you
yeah.
again.
There are a lot of people that watch on the replay, so many, many more people will be listening to you.
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you for saying I like the way everything tied together. Because I
Mhm.
felt that too today. I felt like the music and what you were talking and what you were talking about really just created a global path of spiritual existence and moving forward in the essence of what we're talking about today. I like it. Perfect.
Wow. Speaking of perfect, how was the breakout? How was the breakout? Helpful? Good? Excellent. I would love to hear if anybody would like to share in the chat. Anything you'd like to share, any decisions you made, any ways you saw that you're fomenting divisiveness, that you can pull back from that, see it differently, make different choices. Because I learned from these things as well as everybody else. Plus, I think it's a great way to simply make declarations. I find for me, declarations are very helpful when I say, I'm done doing that, or I'm not interested in that anymore. These kinds of declarations help me. So please share it in the chat. And so here's what's going to happen now. We're going to make a couple of brief announcements. Kiowa's going to give us another song. Lana's going to give us another prayer. And then we're going to be out of here. So announcements. We have many things coming up at the Power of Love Ministry. So, and I'm not sure, GJ, I'm going to need you to put it in the chat. I've got a family forgiveness free class. We're prepping for the holidays here. I've got family forgiveness free class coming up this week. And then I also have a free forgiveness letter writing workshop, 2 free forgiveness events this week. And then we also have coming up, Kieran J. Gardner's got another class, Living from Joy, something like that. Oh, How to Be Truly Loving. That's what it is. How to Be Truly Loving. And I think that's November 4th. I'm doing my spiritual counseling training intensive, which is open to anyone. And we've had all kinds of people take it, teachers, investment experts, lawyers, as well as life coaches and counselors and psychologists and therapists and all kinds of folks have taken it. Grandparents have even taken it just to be better communicators with their grandchildren. So lots of reasons to take my spiritual counseling training intensive to improve your relationships. So that registration is open now, and that's the first 2 weekends of November. And then also now is the time to get on the early bird wait list for Masterful Living, so you get notified of all the bonuses that I'll be offering for next year's program, and many of which you can take advantage of now this year. So get on the early bird wait list for Masterful Living if you think you'd like to join us in Masterful Living next year. All right, last announcement. Your donations and tithes make it possible to make donations and tithes to our musicians and our speakers here at Sundays with Spirit. So we really appreciate that. It keeps us going so we can pay our staff and pay for all our web pages and all those different things that we need. Oh my gosh, so many different things that we need to be able to do an online ministry. Oh, so many. In fact, when I first started doing classes online like this, I realized, had I known how many moving parts there were, I never would have done it. So it's a really good thing I didn't know. But then when you're halfway down that road, you're like, I guess I'll just keep going. So that's what I did. And I'm so glad I did. All right. Kiowa, do you have any announcements for us?
Oh, any announcements? I guess let your kids know I might be coming to their college somewhere here in the US this year or next year.
Yeah.
Also, if you do want to listen to more of my music, I do have those 2 albums on SoundCloud. It's a free app, and it's under Terry Catlin. That's TERI, and then the last name is CATLIN. When I became sober, I decided to go by my middle name, Kiowa. So a lot of my older music and things like that are under that name, under my first and last name. So feel free to check out Terry Catlin at SoundCloud. Also, I'm on Spotify under just Kiowa, KIOWA. It's actually mixed with another person's music. And I think once you've heard my music, you'll know whose is what. It's very obvious. So it's also on Spotify. It's got like a brown and tan type looking logo. It just says Kiowa. So that's what's going on with me. And I'll just look for some more music. I'll be around for sure.
All right. So we're ready for another song from you.
All right. Well, this little song, it's called Home. We all go home. But just a reminder to keep plugging away. And if there's something that you believe in, that you love, that makes you happy, or that brings love into the world, just keep doing that, no matter how hard it gets. I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know if I'll ever know. Is there something I left behind, or just something that I can never find? Well, I don't know where to turn, and I don't know if I'll ever learn. But is there something I should believe, or just know that the truth will set me free? All my life I will try to walk the dusty roads less taken till I make it. I will find my own way with more patience, call on graciousness till they lay me down into that sacred place we all call home. We all go home. Well, I'm coming home. I'm coming home. I don't know about today, but I can't throw this love away. Well, is there something I should have said, or just something that I'll always regret? All my life I will try to walk the dusty roads less taken till I make it. I will find my own way with more patience, call on graciousness till they lay me down into that sacred place we all call home. We all go home. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. I don't know where I go, and I don't know if I'll ever know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Music is so soulful. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Always a blessing. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So grateful for this heart opening time we've had together. Rosalind, thank you for being here. GJ, thank you for being here. Lana, thank you. Lana, do you have any announcements before you give us a prayer to take us home? All right.
No announcements.
Glad you're here. All right. A prayer.
We take that deep breath of loving gratitude, just grateful and thankful for this message and the uplifting music that have been so helpful in healing in our growth and expansion. Grateful and thankful for this time together with Spirit. We put Spirit in charge of all our decisions, of all our problem solving, trusting that by following Spirit's guidance, we are certain that His direction will bring us peace. We offer up all blocks to love's presence in our lives. We offer up all past learning that keeps us attached to the ego wrong mind. We choose Holy Spirit and intend to attach only to the thoughts that we would think with God. We intend to be easily led and guided and to choose the highest and best in each moment. We are awakening to our true identity and the true identity of our brothers and sisters. We are one in love eternally. And for this and all the blessings we receive this day, we're so very grateful. In the name of our beloved I Am, we know that it is done. We let it be. And so it is. Amen.
Amen, amen, amen. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lana. Thank you, Kiowa. Thank you, Rosalind. Thank you, GJ. Thank you, everyone, for being here. God bless.